What's up, guys? It's MSM Comics here, and today we're gonna go over more characters with their backstories to draw them. Today, though, it's the villains. Without further ado, let's get started. Miss Brooke lived her days out in a small apartment, living as the secretary of the CEO of the multi-million-dollar company known as Alpha Corp. Now, she had a seemingly pretty good life, but she was fed up with the lack of power. She devised a plan to use generators that Alpha Corp created that power the entire sea to overload them to blow up parts of the sea. When she did that, she would then conquer the parts of the sea blown up by giving them accesses and necessities and blaming the accident on the CEO, making her the new CEO and ruling the divided. However, when a troublesome unknown teenager started mucking up her plans, she got upset and ended up sending men after him. She figured out that the young teenager had powers from the generator, so she created a massive generator to hopefully kill him. But when the teenager arrived in a new suit that allowed him to absorb the energy of the generator pretty easily, she was fed up. So fed up that she went back to the Alpha Corp and put on a flight suit used for testing the generators and absorbed the energy of multiple generators, giving her unlimited power, turning her into the villain nicknamed Alpha Energy. She used this power to try to kill the unknown hero, who we now know as Captain Kai. However, her body couldn't take all the energy, and unfortunately, she kind of blew up. When creating this character, I wanted to make a villain that could really go up against Captain Kai, but I didn't quite know how to at the time. So I thought of this kind of person who absorbs the generators, just like Captain Kai does, and gets all this power instead, though, when she does it, creating Alpha Energy. But, I originally wanted the villain to be the CEO of Alpha Corp. Classic type of Green Goblin stuff. But then I was like, what if, plot twist, the villain is actually the secretary? So yeah, that's how I created the character, known as Alpha Energy. I feel like it's pretty cool. The hair gives off a anime aesthetic type thing. But when I realized how powerful she is, I kind of was like, well, kind of can't have this character around, so that's why the whole blowing up thing happened. But yeah, that is Alpha Energy. Wilkins worked as a construction worker for many, many years at Alpha Corp. He had worked very hard, yet never got past more than being a construction worker. This slightly did upset Wilcom, but he kept pushing. This job did pay well, after all. It paid well enough for him to be able to support his wife and his daughter, Emma, to the point where she was able to go to college and now lives on her own. Wilkins now is still a construction worker. And it's not that he hates his job, but the job pays well. But be lying if Wilkins told you that he didn't want a different job. One day, Alpha Corp introduced a new technology. Gloves are part of the suit that can allow a construction worker to move heavy metals with magnetic field manipulation. This helped out Wilcom actually a lot during his job. However, during an accident that was caused by Captain Kai going in and kind of trying to stop some villains at the construction site that Wilkins was working by himself, a bunch of metal fell on top of him, lodging several pieces of metal into his body, permanently paralyzing him. He was furious and blamed Alpha Corp for it. However, he realized that the accident also made the technology in the suit that allowed him to control magnetic fields with the suit on, give it to his body. allowing him to make himself float now that he had magnetic metal stuck in him permanently. He decided to use this magnetic field manipulation power to get revenge on the CEO of Alpha Corp, who he blames for the accident. He first went on a rampage, destroying many buildings they helped create, in an artistic fit. Then it was time for him to finally go after the CEO and try to destroy him. Captain Kai, however, came to the scene and tried to stop him, and succeeded. He was then locked up and put in a prison, where he could never harm anyone. But I have a feeling that's not the last we'll see of Magnetron. When creating this character a second time, I decided to give him a more older look to match the story slightly more and show his age a bit more. And you can kind of tell that it looks different than the original art that y'all have seen in the older shorts. But yeah, Magnetron, ladies and gentlemen. Dr. Scarlet coincidentally also worked at Alpha Corp as one of the top scientists, working on an experimental computer chip that could be surgically implanted into a human brain and give them access to the internet's knowledge, instantly making a person the most intelligent being in the planet Earth. She was chosen by her team to be the test subject, and the chip was surgically implanted into her brain. And in fact, it did give her the world's knowledge, creating her into a super intelligence. However, after a quick look at everything that has happened throughout history, she came to the conclusion that in order to save the planet Earth, like they were trying to, humanity had to be erased and eradicated. So, with the technology she had, and now more access to it, thanks to the chip, allowing her to control technology easier, she became Tekra, a tech-based villain that plans to destroy humanity. Now, even more coincidentally, Xavier Wilson's class, which includes Marcus and Sarah, were on a field trip to the demonstration of the chip and the testing. And Xavier, before his eyes, saw all this unfold in the creation of Tekra. So, while everyone was distracted, he went and donned in the Captain Kai costume and went to fight her. However, it was difficult. Tekra's plan was to launch a satellite into space that would immediately activate many nukes that were in different countries to eradicate different civilizations in order to achieve her goal. However, Captain Kai was able to stop her and using a computer, destroy the chip and deactivate it, seemingly turning her back to normal. However, once she was put into an observatory, like a hospital thing for them to watch her, in case anything bad happened again, it seems that maybe this is not the last time we've seen of Tekra, the tech-based villain who plans to destroy humanity. Fun fact, I originally created this villain for something completely different than Captain Kai. Originally, I created her when I was super into Big Hero 6, the comic book series, not the movie. And I created her as a villain, which, kind of cool, to have villain for, the team with a robot. But when I got more into creating Captain Kai, I decided to reuse her for that, and I feel like she fits a lot better here. And I feel like she makes a great addition to the team of villains, the cast of villains. But yes, that is all in Tekra. Marcus and Xavier don't exactly know the origin of this villain. No one quite knows, and they can't quite figure it out. All we know is that this woman, who calls herself Prom Queen, showed up one day at the high school that Marcus, Xavier, and Sarah all go to. Then, with almost immediate plan, she set her evil plan into action, using some experimental chemical pheromone to control almost everyone in the entire high school and turn them into her love-drained zombies. Calling herself Prom Queen, she then took over the high school, except, according to Marcus's theory, due to the energy in Xavier from him absorbing the generators, it creates a small field that the normal dosage of pheromone that that Prom Queen was giving out could not get past, meaning that for now, Captain Kai was immune. Marcus quickly grabbed a gas mask as they tried to figure out some type of way to defeat her or create a cure. Captain Kai had to navigate throughout the school, and eventually, with help of Marcus in the biolab, they created a cure and released it throughout the ventilation system, making everyone in the high school return back to normal, in time for Captain Kai to defeat Prom Queen. But not before Prom Queen almost fully took him over using her pheromones. But yes, that, my friends, is in fact Prom Queen. This is one of the first villains I created for Captain Kai, and when I created her, I knew exactly what type of character she'd be. A character with the whole Poison Ivy love control type gimmick, and themed after, well, Prom Queen, due to the fact that the superhero takes place in high school. It's perfect. However, I never figured out what the origin would be, so I decide that she has no origin. No one really knows her origin, and you never find out her origin. How did she create the pheromone? Where did she come from? Why is she doing all this? No one knows, and no one will ever know. Though originally, the dress that she's wearing was just going to be a regular pink, formal style dress. Where, like, it was just kind of going to look slightly stylish, but I decided to give it a comic book touch with the whole heart thing on the chest to kind of be like a logo. You know, gotta give that comic book touch. Because this is a superhero comic, so you gotta give that comic touch. So, yeah. That is the one, the only Prom Queen. So, guys, I hope you enjoyed the second installment of drawing my characters while giving their backstories. I can't wait to do more soon, and I definitely want to do a part 3 for more villains. With that out of the way, make sure to like, subscribe, and hit that bell notification so you get up to date on any videos or shorts I post. Peace out, y'all.